Let me tell you something about humans that our entire species got wrong. Catastrophically, hilariously, terrifyingly wrong. We thought they were soft. We thought they were weak. We thought their educational facilities were places of learning and gentle intellectual growth. Yeah, about that. My name is Vekthar, and I have been observing Earth for approximately 6 of their rotational cycles. My assignment? Monitor human youth development in their so-called schools. Sounds boring, right? File reports, take notes, watch teenagers struggle with mathematics, and complain about cafeteria food. Easy assignment for a low-level xenobiologist like myself. That was before I witnessed what happened in biology class. Room 347, Portland Educational Complex. On a perfectly ordinary Thursday afternoon. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead with that distinctive electrical buzz humans seem to find completely normal, though it drives my auditory sensors absolutely insane. 28 students sat in various states of attention, most of them staring at their handheld communication devices hidden beneath desks. Mr. Holloway, a middle-aged human male with graying hair and an expression of permanent exhaustion, was attempting to explain something about cardiovascular systems. Nobody was listening. Well, almost nobody. Iris sat in the 3rd row, 2nd seat from the window. Unremarkable by human standards. Brown hair pulled back in a functional tie. Average height, average build. Clothes that suggested she preferred invisibility over attention. Her biometric readings showed perfect calm, heart rate steady at 62 beats per minute, breathing slow and controlled. I had scanned every student in that room dozens of times. Iris always registered as the most boring specimen in the entire facility. Again, about that. Danny occupied the back corner like he owned it. Tall for his age group, muscular from their primitive athletic training, surrounded by 3 other males who laughed at everything he said, regardless of actual humor content. His heart rate ran higher than average, always. Adrenaline levels elevated, testosterone peaked. The biological markers of what humans call an alpha male, though that term has been scientifically debunked in their own species. Humans are weird about hierarchies. All right, people. Mr. Holloway clapped his hands together, producing a sharp sound that made exactly 0 students look up. Group presentations on the circulatory system. You have had 2 weeks to prepare. First up, we have Iris, Kira, and Danny. Oh, this should be good, I thought, adjusting my visual receptors to capture everything. Group projects among human adolescents typically resulted in one individual doing all the work, while others contributed nothing. Standard social dynamic. Iris stood, gathering her materials with precise, economical movements. Kira, a female with excessive cosmetic enhancements and constant anxiety markers, reluctantly joined her at the front. Danny stayed seated, arms crossed, smirking. "Danny, that means you too," Mr. Holloway said, voice carrying that special tone of teacher resignation. Yeah. Danny rose slowly, deliberately, making sure everyone watched him move. Not like I need to do anything anyway. Iris probably already finished the whole thing herself, right? Little nerd girl loves her homework. A few students snickered. Kira looked at the floor. Iris simply connected her data storage device to the projection system. Her expression unchanged. "The human heart," Iris began, her voice quiet but clear, "pumps approximately 5 liters of blood through the body every minute. That is 7,200 liters per day, or 2.5 million liters per year." "Wow, fascinating," Danny interrupted, yawning dramatically. "Tell us, Iris, do you actually have a heart? Or is it just empty space where normal people keep their personality?" More laughter. Louder this time. Mr. Holloway opened his mouth to intervene, but the words died somewhere between intention and execution. A common phenomenon among human authority figures I had noticed. They possess power, but lack conviction to use it. Iris continued, as if Danny had not spoken. The heart consists of 4 chambers, 2 atria, 2 ventricles. Blood flows through a specific pathway to ensure oxygenation before distribution to organs and tissues. God, even your voice is boring, Danny said, picking up a writing instrument from the nearest desk. A standard No. 2 pencil, wooden shaft, graphite core. He rolled it between his fingers. Does anyone actually care about this? Show of hands. No hands raised. Of course not. Peer pressure among adolescent humans functioned like gravity, invisible but absolutely controlling. Danny, that is enough, Mr. Holloway finally managed, though his voice carried no real authority. Let Iris finish. Oh, I will let her finish, Danny said, grin widening. Right after this. He flicked his wrist, and the pencil flew across the room, spinning end over end before striking Iris directly in the forehead. Not hard enough to injure, but hard enough to sting, hard enough to humiliate. The classroom went silent. I immediately focused all sensors on Iris. Her heart rate had not changed, still 62 beats per minute. Her breathing remained steady. Her pupils did not dilate. No flinch reflex, no startle response, no anger markers in her facial temperature distribution. That was my first clue that something was very, very different about this human. Oops, Danny said, voice dripping with false apology. My hand slipped. You okay there, Iris? Or are you too stupid to even react properly? Kira backed away from the presentation area, sensing incoming danger the way prey animals detect predators. Smart girl. Iris reached up, touched the small red mark on her forehead where the pencil had struck, then looked at Danny for the first time. Really looked at him. Her eyes, I realized with growing fascination, were not the eyes of a frightened teenager. They were the eyes of something calculating, measuring, deciding. Are you done? She asked simply. Done? Danny laughed, stepping closer. I have not even started. You think you can just stand up here acting all superior with your perfect grades and your perfect little presentations? You think you are better than everyone else? I think, Iris said, voice still perfectly calm, that you should sit down. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Several students shifted uncomfortably. Mr. Holloway stood frozen, clearly out of his depth. Or what? Danny moved into her personal space, using his height advantage, chest puffed out in a classic dominance display. What are you going to do about it, freak? I am giving you a choice, Iris said. And for the first time, I detected something in her voice. Not fear, not anger. Something colder. Something that made my own species' survival instincts activate, despite being in a completely different building observing through electronic surveillance. Walk away now. We both forget this happened. You sit down, I finish the presentation, everyone moves on with their day. And if I do not? Danny shoved her, both hands against her shoulders, hard enough to make most humans stumble backward. Iris did not stumble. She did not even shift her weight. Then, she said quietly, I stopped being polite. Danny laughed again, but this time it sounded forced. His heart rate had increased. On some primitive level, his brain recognized danger even if his pride refused to acknowledge it. You are going to stop being polite? What does that even mean? You going to hit me? Go ahead. Try it. I dare you. He shoved her again. Harder. That was his mistake. What happened next took exactly 1.3 seconds. I know because I have reviewed the footage 742 times, and I still cannot quite believe what my sensors recorded. Iris moved. Not wildly. Not frantically. With absolute terrifying precision. Her left hand came up, caught Danny's right wrist as he pushed her. Her right hand grasped his elbow. She stepped slightly to the side, rotating her hips, and suddenly Danny was moving in a direction his body never intended to go. She used his own momentum, his own strength, his own aggression against him. The throw looked almost gentle. The result was not. Danny went airborne, flipping completely over, his shocked expression frozen in that moment of realization that gravity was no longer his friend. He landed on his back on the tile floor with a sound like a meat shipment hitting a loading dock. The air exploded from his lungs in a painful wheeze. But Iris was not done. Before Danny could even process what happened, she had dropped down, one knee against his chest, her hand gripping his right arm. She extended it at an angle that looked wrong, hyperextending the shoulder joint just enough to cause intense pain without permanent damage. Danny screamed. Not a yell, not a shout. A genuine, high-pitched scream of agony. "Stop!" Mr. Holloway finally found his voice, rushing forward. "Iris, let him go right now." Iris looked up at the teacher, her expression still completely neutral, then back down at Danny, who was crying now, tears streaming down his face as he slapped the floor with his free hand in submission. She released him immediately, stood up, smoothed her shirt, and walked back to the presentation display. "As I was saying," she continued, pointing to the diagram on screen, "the left ventricle has the thickest muscular wall because it must generate enough pressure to pump blood throughout the entire body." The classroom erupted into chaos. Students shouting, some pulling out phones to record, others backing away. Danny lay on the floor, clutching his shoulder, making noises somewhere between sobbing and hyperventilating. Mr. Holloway fumbled for the emergency call button. Kira stared at Iris like she had just witnessed a demon manifest in human form. And Iris? She just kept presenting. Voice steady, heart rate unchanged, as if she had simply swatted an annoying insect, rather than dislocating the shoulder of the school's most popular athlete in front of 27 witnesses. I sat in my monitoring station, all 4 of my manipulator appendages frozen over my control interface, and had a singular thought that would reshape everything my species believed about Earth. We have made a terrible error in our threat assessment of these creatures. A terrible, terrible error. The next 47 minutes were absolute bedlam. Security officers, which humans inexplicably call resource officers, despite their primary function being violence prevention, arrived within 3 minutes. 2 police vehicles appeared within 7, an ambulance within 12. All for one dislocated shoulder and one very calm teenage girl who had already returned to her seat and was reading a textbook. Danny was loaded onto a wheeled stretcher, still whimpering, still clutching his arm. His friends hovered around him like confused satellites, throwing death glares at Iris, who completely ignored their existence. "She attacked me," Danny kept repeating between gasps. "Crazy girl just attacked me for no reason. I want her arrested." Officer Briggs, a large human male with the physique of someone who lifts heavy objects recreationally, took statements from witnesses. Every single student told the same story. Danny shoved Iris. Iris defended herself. Danny got destroyed. Well, they used softer language, but that was the essence. "Miss Iris," Officer Briggs said, standing over her desk with his arms crossed, "you want to explain what happened here?" "He pushed me twice," Iris said without looking up from her biology textbook. I responded with appropriate force to neutralize the threat. His shoulder will heal in 6 to 8 weeks with proper physical therapy. The officer blinked. Appropriate force? You are 17 years old. Where exactly did you learn to do that? My parents taught me self-defense starting at age 6. Krav Maga primarily, some boxing, basic tactical awareness. She turned a page. Is there anything else? I would like to finish this chapter. Officer Briggs looked at his partner, Officer Yuma, a shorter female with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She shrugged. You are not even slightly upset about this? Yuma asked. Why would I be upset? Iris finally looked up, her expression genuinely curious. He initiated physical contact. I ended it. This seems like a logical outcome. I was frantically accessing Earth databases, pulling everything I could find on this Iris human. Her file was surprisingly thin. No social media presence, no criminal record. Parents listed as Emily and Harold, occupations listed as private security consultants, which my translation algorithms flagged as suspicious terminology often used to obscure military backgrounds. Then I found their actual records. Emily had served 12 years in something called Marine Force Reconnaissance. Harold had been part of an elite counter-terrorism unit. Both had deployment records in 17 different conflict zones. Both had commendations for operations that were still classified. Their daughter had been homeschooled until age 14, then transferred to public education with academic scores that were exceptional, but not remarkable enough to draw attention. Oh, you clever, clever humans. They had trained a weapon and disguised it as an ordinary teenager. Principal Vance arrived, sweating despite the climate-controlled environment, his tie askew and his comb-over failing structural integrity. This is completely unacceptable. Fighting on school grounds results in immediate suspension, possibly expulsion. She was defending herself. Mr. Holloway interjected, surprising everyone, including himself. Danny has been bullying students all year. We have complaints, we have reports. Nothing ever gets done about it. That does not excuse violence. Actually, Officer Yuma said, consulting her handheld device, under Oregon law, she had the right to defend herself from assault. And according to witness statements, the other kid threw something at her, then physically shoved her twice before she responded. That is textbook self-defense. Principal Vance's face turned an interesting shade of purple. She could have seriously injured him. But she did not, Yuma pointed out. Dislocated shoulder, no broken bones, no head trauma, no permanent damage. If anything, she showed remarkable restraint for someone with her training level. I pulled up Danny's file next. 3 previous incidents of physical altercations. 2 formal complaints from other students. 1 ongoing investigation for alleged assault against a freshman that had mysteriously gone nowhere, probably because Danny's father was a prominent local attorney. The humans have a saying, the chickens come home to roost. Danny's chickens had not just come home. They had kicked down the door, set the furniture on fire, and were currently dancing on the ashes of his reputation. 1 week later, everything went completely sideways. I had filed my preliminary reports with my superiors, flagging Iris as a potential threat-level subject requiring enhanced monitoring. They acknowledged receipt and promptly ignored everything I said because, and I quote, teenage human females pose negligible security concerns. Right. Sure. Negligible. Danny returned to school with his arm in a sling, playing the victim angle hard. His story had evolved over 7 days, from "she attacked me" to "she ambushed me without warning using illegal combat techniques." His friends rallied around him, their primitive pack mentality demanding revenge for the humiliation. Iris, meanwhile, had become a minor celebrity. Video footage of the incident had spread across human social networks, racking up millions of views. Comment sections filled with debates about bullying, self-defense, and whether a 17-year-old girl dislocating a football player's shoulder was the most satisfying thing ever recorded. Opinions were divided approximately 60-40 in Iris's favor. But Danny's older brother, Travis, he was not interested in public opinion. Travis was 22, technically an adult by human standards, though his brain chemistry suggested otherwise. He had dropped out of college, worked at a vehicle repair facility, and spent his evenings with 5 equally intellectual individuals whose hobbies included recreational substance abuse and petty crime. I detected their planning phase through intercepted communications, text messages, voice calls, social media coordination. They were going to teach that girl a lesson and show her what happens when you mess with their family. 6 males, ages 20 to 24, all larger and stronger than Iris, planning a home invasion for Friday night when her parents would be away at some security conference 3 states distant. I faced a moral calculation my species is not equipped to handle. Do I interfere? Do I alert authorities? Do I maintain my observation-only protocol? I did what any rational being would do. I upgraded my surveillance equipment and made sure every recording device was functioning at maximum capacity. What? You expected heroism? I am a xenobiologist, not a warrior. Friday arrived. Travis and his collection of poor life choices gathered at 2200 hours in the dwelling's vicinity. They brought aluminum baseball bats. 2 brought knives. 1 brought a tire iron. Iris was home alone, lights on in the upper floor bedroom, appearing to study through the window. They kicked in the back door at 22:37. The house alarm did not sound. I later learned Iris had disabled it deliberately, along with several other security features her parents had installed. She wanted them to come inside. Travis entered first, bat in hand, calling out threats that were creative in their vulgarity, but limited in actual intimidation value. His friends spread through the ground floor, searching for her. That was when the lights went out. All of them, simultaneously. Iris had cut the main power supply. Humans are primarily visual creatures. Remove their sight, and they panic. I watched through infrared as 6 confident males suddenly became 6 confused children, bumping into furniture, calling out to each other, their heart rates spiking with adrenaline and fear. Iris moved through her own house like a predator through familiar hunting grounds. The first attacker went down when she swept his legs from behind, sending him crashing into a glass coffee table. The sound of shattering glass made the others shout, spinning wildly in the darkness. The second took a lamp to the face. Ceramic base, solid construction, applied with surgical precision to his temple. He dropped like gravity had suddenly tripled. The third and fourth came together, swinging bats blindly. Iris was not where they expected. She was behind them, striking pressure points, targeting nerve clusters, using techniques designed not for sport, but for efficient incapacitation. Screaming filled the house. Not Iris's screaming. Theirs. Travis finally found the stairs, charged upward, knife extended, roaring challenges into the darkness. Iris met him at the top. What happened next took 4 moves. Disarm, strike, lock, compress. Travis found himself face down on the hallway floor. Iris's knee pressed against his spine, his arm twisted at an angle that made him sob. Again. Apparently, shoulder manipulation was her signature technique. Police sirens wailed outside. Iris had triggered her silent alarm exactly 3 minutes after the invasion began, giving herself enough time to handle the situation while ensuring authorities arrived before anyone suffered permanent damage. 7 attackers, 7 incapacitated males, 0 injuries to the defender. Officer Briggs entered the house, flashlight cutting through darkness, and stopped dead. "Sweet, merciful heaven," he whispered. "What happened here?" "Self-defense," Iris called from upstairs, still pinning Travis. "Again. Could someone please turn the lights back on? I have homework to finish." The legal proceedings that followed were, in human terms, spectacular. Danny's father, Attorney Patel, attempted to paint Iris as a dangerous vigilante who had been waiting for an opportunity to hurt his clients. That argument collapsed approximately 40 seconds into the preliminary hearing, when the prosecution presented security footage showing 7 adult males breaking into a private residence with weapons while making explicit verbal threats. Turns out, premeditated home invasion is frowned upon in human legal systems. Who knew? Attorney Winters, representing the state, was a sharp-eyed woman who smiled like a predator when presented with an easy case. "Your Honor, the defendant and his associates broke into the home of a minor with clear intent to cause bodily harm. They brought weapons. They documented their plans via text message. One of them literally wrote, and I quote, 'We are going to break her legs.'" The courtroom murmured. Judge Anderson, a gray-haired human female with an expression that suggested she had seen every stupid thing humans could do and was tired of all of it, peered over her glasses at Travis and his friends. "Is this true?" she asked. Travis's attorney, a nervous younger male named Winters, shuffled papers uselessly. "Your Honor, my clients were responding to a previous assault on Danny, who is still recovering from serious injuries inflicted by this girl." "This girl," Judge Anderson said slowly, "was in her own home when 7 adult men broke in with weapons. The previous incident occurred on school grounds when your client's brother physically assaulted her first. Counselor, are you actually arguing that home invasion is an appropriate response to a high school fight?" Silence. "I thought not," the judge continued. "Bail is set at $50,000 each. Trial date is set for 6 weeks from today. Next case." But the legal drama was only part of the story. The media had discovered Iris, and the media was ravenous. News outlets descended on Portland like scavengers on a fresh carcass. Local stations, national networks, internet personalities with cameras and opinions. Everyone wanted to interview the teenage girl who single-handedly defeated 7 home invaders. Iris declined every request, until one persistent reporter named Angela caught her outside the courthouse and asked a different question. Not about the fight, not about the violence. She asked, "Why did you wait so long to defend yourself against Danny? Students say he had been bullying you for months." Iris stopped walking. The cameras focused, and for the first time, this human who had shown no emotion, no fear, no anger throughout everything, looked tired. "I did not want attention," she said quietly. "I just wanted to finish school, go to college, live normally. My parents taught me how to fight because the world is dangerous and they wanted me prepared. But they also taught me that fighting should be the last option, not the first. So I ignored Danny. I ignored his insults, his harassment, his attempts to provoke me, because I knew what would happen if I responded." "And what is that?" Angela asked gently. "This." Iris gestured at the cameras, the reporters, the circus surrounding her. "I am not a hero. I am not special. I just wanted to be left alone. But humans do not let each other be left alone, do they? There is always someone who needs to push, to test, to prove they are stronger. And when you push back, suddenly you are the problem." The footage went viral within hours. 10 million views, 20 million, 50 million. Other students came forward, not just from Iris's school, but from Danny's previous schools. Testimonies about his behavior, his threats, his pattern of targeting smaller or quieter students. A dozen victims who had stayed silent because who would believe them against the popular athlete with the lawyer father? The narrative shifted. Danny was no longer the victim. He was the catalyst, the bully who finally picked the wrong target. His father's law firm quietly asked him to take a leave of absence as clients started requesting different representation. Travis lost his job. The other 5 attackers faced criminal charges that would follow them for years. The school district implemented new policies, mandatory self-defense classes, stricter anti-bullying protocols, actual consequences for students who harassed others. And Iris? She went back to being invisible. I watched her 3 months later, sitting in that same biology classroom, taking notes during a lecture on respiratory systems. Her heart rate was steady at 62 beats per minute. Her expression was neutral. She looked once again like the most boring student in the entire facility. But now I knew better. Now everyone knew better. A younger student named Lily was being cornered in the hallway by 2 older girls, the kind of casual cruelty that happens in every human school every single day. Insults about her appearance, her clothes, her existence. Iris walked past, backpack over one shoulder. She paused, turned, looked at the 2 bullies with that same calm, measuring expression she had given Danny. Said nothing. Did not need to. The bullies scattered like prey animals detecting a predator. Lily stared at Iris with wide eyes, started to say thank you. But Iris had already walked away, returning to her carefully maintained invisibility. I filed my final report to my superiors that evening. 12,000 words documenting everything I had observed. Every tactical decision, every moment of restraint, paired with devastating effectiveness. My conclusion was simple. Earth's threat classification needed immediate upgrading from developing civilization, minimal concern, to approach with extreme caution, potentially hostile. Not because humans were universally violent, but because they were capable of teaching a 17-year-old to dismantle multiple attackers without breaking a sweat, while simultaneously teaching her enough restraint to ensure none of them died. They could create weapons, then convince those weapons to show mercy. That combination, I wrote, is far more dangerous than simple aggression. My superiors finally responded to my reports. Their message was brief. Recommendation approved. Earth reclassified. Maintain observation distance. Do not engage. I looked at Iris one final time through my monitoring systems. She was at home, door locked, working on calculus homework with the same focused calm she brought to everything. She looked up suddenly, directly at the hidden camera I had thought was completely undetectable, smiled slightly, waved, then went back to her homework. My primary cardiac organ froze. She knew. Somehow this human teenager knew she was being watched and did not care. I shut down my monitoring systems, filed for immediate transfer to a different assignment, preferably somewhere without humans, and spent the rest of the evening questioning every life choice that had led me to this moment. They call it humanity, these strange bipedal creatures who hug their children and teach them 17 ways to break an attacker's arm. I call it terrifying, and I want absolutely nothing to do with it ever again.